First of all, I want to say good afternoon to those that are online, to Beverly and also to Raven and Amanda, to Sister Lula, and also to Anna. Again, it's a blessing to have you all sharing with us. And also hope that everybody had an enjoyable feast. What we're going to do, since this is the second day of the Feast of Tabernacles, while it is the weekly Sabbath, we're going to continue with the same message that I had delivered yesterday. That's what the Tabernacles is about in part, and that is the Lord is coming back to retrieve his people. So this lesson is entitled, Make Sure You Are Ready for the Marriage Supper of the Lamb. Again, the purpose of it is twofold. As I stated, to reiterate what we covered during our lesson on the Feast of Tabernacles. But also, we're going to see from the perspective of how we need to make sure that we are prepared for this union that is to take place at the Lord's second coming. Because oftentimes what the Lord will do, when he gives you a message, he'll give it to you in different ways to ensure that you get the message and fully understand what it is he's trying to convey in his word. This lesson we're going to see that God is going to return and gather his people. Only this time God likens that reunion as with a man reuniting with his bride. There's going to be a marriage that's going to take place. And that marriage is between God and his church, which is Israel. So that brings us to the second purpose of this lesson. And as I stated, this is about our preparedness. We want to make sure that we do all we can to ensure our readiness for this event. Because we want to make sure that we are in attendance at this wedding. We're going to see in the course of this lesson that the Lord is going to marry his bride Israel. But first we're going to see when the Lord initially took Israel as his bride, how he proposed to her, and giving him the vows, along with how he provided for his wife as a husband should. And we're going to see that eventually the Lord divorced Israel, and along with why that divorce took place. And we're going to see that the Lord is coming back for his bride, and he's going to marry her all over again. And as I stated, we want to make sure that we are ready to be in attendance at this wedding. We're going to start this lesson off in Revelation, the 19th chapter. And again, the title is, Make Sure You Are Ready for the Marriage Supper of the Lamb. Here in Revelation 19, we find that there's a wedding that's going to take place. 19 and 9. You go ahead when you get there.
And he says unto me, right,
Go ahead.
Blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb.
Uh-huh.
And he said unto me, These are the true sayings of God.
He said, this is what you should be laboring for. Because the word of God is true. All that he has said must come to pass. So it is written here. It said, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. So you blessed to be in attendance of this marriage, this wedding. And the Lamb we're going to find out is none other than Jesus. Turn over to Matthew, the 9th chapter. Matthew, the 9th chapter. Because Jesus lets us know. Matthew, the 9th chapter. He lets us know that he is the bridegroom. Nine and 14. You go ahead when you get there.
And came to him the disciples of John, saying,
Uh-huh.
Why do we and the Pharisees fast always, but thy disciples fast not?
Listen to Jesus' reply to them. Go ahead.
And Jesus said unto them,
Uh-huh.
And the children of the bridegroom, can the children of the bride chamber mourn, as long as the bridegroom is with them?
So they wanted to know why it is that they were fasting, but Jesus' disciples were not. And he let them know. He said, can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them. So he's letting them know that he is the bridegroom. But go ahead.
But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them,
And then what?
and then shall they fast.
But then he's going to return. Return over to Isaiah, the 54th chapter. Because the bride, Jesus is the bridegroom, and we're going to find that the bride is none other than his church, Israel. And the Lord had Isaiah to tell us here what was going to take place with the Lord and his church at his second coming. Isaiah 54 and verse 1. 54 and 1. You go ahead when you get there.
Sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear. Break forth into singing, and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child.
Go ahead.
For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord.
He's simply letting us know that when it comes to Israel, there are more of them that are not keeping God's commandments than those that do. Drop down to verse number 4. Go ahead.
Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed.
Go ahead.
Neither be thou confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame. For thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood anymore.
He's letting them know what you don't want to do is don't harbor any shame. Don't allow that to prevent you from receiving God's forgiveness. Verse number 5. And what does he say?
For thy maker is thine husband.
Again, God is married unto Israel. He said, for thy maker is thine husband. Go ahead.
The Lord of hosts is his name.
And this is none other than Jesus, the only God that man has known. And he had entered into a covenant with Israel. He married his church. He said, for thy maker is thine husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. Go ahead.
And thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel.
Go ahead.
The God of the whole earth shall he be called.
Go ahead.
For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit.
And this is Israel that he's talking about, because often God will refer to his church as a woman. He said, the Lord has called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit. Go ahead.
And a wife of youth.
Again, he was married to Israel. Go ahead.
When thou wast refused, saith thy God.
Go ahead.
For a small moment have I forsaken thee.
But what is he going to do?
But with great mercies will I gather thee.
This is when the Lord returns for his bride. He said, just for a small moment, he said, I forsook thee. He said, but with great mercies, he said, I'm going to gather thee. Go ahead.
In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment.
Go ahead.
But with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer.
Just like he redeemed Israel during the days of Pharaoh, he's going to redeem them all over again. Turn over to Exodus, the 6th chapter. And what we're going to do is we're going to look, because he said he forsook his church, his bride. And before we see that, we're going to see when the Lord first initially proposed to Israel. Exodus 6, and pick it up at verse number 2. Because all marriages start with a commitment, a promise. 6 and 2. Listen to what the Lord says. Go ahead.
And God spake unto Moses and said unto him, I am the Lord. And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, by the name of God Almighty, but by my name Jehovah was I not known to them.
Go ahead.
And I have also established my covenant with them,
To do what?
to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel,
Go ahead.
whom the Egyptians keep in bondage. And I have remembered my covenant.
This is an everlasting covenant. And the covenant started with Abraham. And it passed down from Abraham down to Isaac unto Jacob. That's why he's known as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And eventually this covenant was passed unto Israel. He says, I've heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage. He says, and I remembered my covenant. Wherefore what? Verse 6.
Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians.
Go ahead.
And I will rid you out of their bondage.
So he's telling them, I'm going to take you out of slavery. Go ahead.
And I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people.
Go ahead.
I will be to you a God.
And this is supposed to be forever. He told them he was going to bring them out of bondage, take them out of slavery. He was going to redeem them. He said, I'm going to take you to me for a people, and I'll be unto you a God. Go ahead.
And ye shall know that I am the Lord your God.
Go ahead.
Which bringeth you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians.
And what else is he going to do?
And
what else is he proposing to this people, to his church, to his wife to be? Go ahead.
And I will bring you in unto the land, concerning the which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And I will give it you for an heritage. I am the Lord.
Again, this is supposed to be an everlasting possession. So the Lord is promising to provide as a husband should. Turn over to Exodus the 19th chapter, because we're going to see what else the Lord told Israel that he was going to do for her. 19 and verse number 3. He continues to make his proposal to his church. 19 and 3. You go ahead when you get there.
And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself.
Now therefore what?
Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed.
And then notice he said, you see what I've done unto the Egyptians. I've kept my promise. And I'll bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. He said, now therefore, he said, if you obey my voice, all that I speak, and do what?
And keep my covenant.
And if you do that, then what's going to take place?
Then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people.
Go ahead.
For all the earth is mine.
He said, if you just obey me, then you're going to be special. Special above all others. He said, for all the earth is mine. Go ahead.
And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests.
Go ahead.
And an holy nation.
But this was all contingent upon what? Israel's obedience. He said, you'll be special unto me. And you're to be a kingdom of priests. He said, a holy nation. Go ahead.
These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
Go ahead. This is the proposal that God has made unto Israel. We're going to see what their reception is. Go ahead, verse number 7.
Moses came and called for the elders of the people.
Go ahead.
And laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him.
And what was the people's response?
And all the people answered together and said,
on one accord. Go ahead.
All that the Lord hath spoken we will do.
So they accepted his proposal. Go ahead.
And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord.
But the Lord had told them, this was all contingent upon them being obedient to all that he spoke. 20. Exodus 20 and verse number 1. Because when you have a wedding, you have vows. And we're going to look at some of the vows that the Lord made. 20 and 1. Go ahead when you get there.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God.
Go ahead.
Which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
The first thing he told them was to do what?
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
He said, don't have any other gods before me. Go ahead.
Thou
because when you enter into a covenant, when you enter into a marriage, it is between you and that individual. No others. He said, have no other gods before me. Go ahead, verse 4.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
Don't make anything that represents a god. That's idolatry. Go ahead.
Or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath.
Go ahead.
Or that is in the water under the earth.
Don't make anything that you created to represent God. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them,
Go ahead.
nor serve them.
Why?
For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God,
Uh-huh.
visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
So the Lord is letting Israel know what it is that they're getting into. Is he not? He told them first and foremost, if you're to be with me, you can have no other gods before me. Don't make any graven images. Don't bow down to them. He said, for I am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children until the third and fourth generation of those that hate me. Go ahead, verse 6.
And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments.
Go ahead. What else is Israel not supposed to do?
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
Go ahead.
For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
As the Lord say, why do you call me Lord, Lord, yet not do the things that I say? He said, don't worship me for nothing. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. He said, because the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. What else are they to do? Go ahead.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Go ahead.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
Not, he said, remember the Sabbath day. He's talking about his Sabbath. Not the so-called Christian or the Jewish Sabbath. Those Sabbaths don't exist. The only Sabbath that matters is the Sabbath of the Lord. That is the day that he blessed and sanctified and hallowed. And that is the seventh day of the week. He said, you remember the Sabbath day, or God's Sabbath, to keep it holy. He said, 6 days shall you labor and do all your work. But verse 10.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
Go ahead.
In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
So he's speaking unto Israel, but he's letting you know it's one law for all. But now turn over to Exodus, the 24th chapter. Because the Lord has made it clear what he expected of his bride to be. Exodus 24. So now we're getting ready to be at the part of the ceremony where it says you take this man to be your lawful wedded husband. Because the Lord is showing Israel what he expects of his bride. 24 and verse number 3. 24 and 3. Because now Israel is getting ready to enter into the covenant with God. 24 and 3. You go ahead when you get there.
And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments.
Go ahead.
And all the people answered with one voice and said,
And what did they say?
all the words which the Lord hath said will we do.
So they were in agreement again, were they not? Not once, but twice they've already agreed to all that God has said. We do agree. Go ahead.
And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel.
Go ahead.
And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood, and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar.
Because now he's getting ready to bring the people into the bond of the covenant. Verse number 7. Go ahead.
And he took the book of the covenant,
Read
read in the audience of the people.
And what did the people, what was their response again?
And they said, all that the Lord hath said will we do, and be obedient.
Again, they've agreed not once, not twice, but 3 times to God's proposal. And they said, all that he has said, we will do, and be obedient. What did Moses do? Verse 8.
And Moses took the blood, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
That would correspond to like when the minister would say, I now pronounce you man and wife. It's official. So Israel has entered into a covenant with God. Turn over to Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. Because just as a husband, God is going to provide a place for his bride to dwell. 7 and verse number 1. 7 and 1. You go ahead when you get there.
When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it,
Go ahead.
and hath cast out many nations before thee,
Uh-huh.
the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
So the Lord is letting them know that he's going to give them, talking about Israel, he's going to give them possession of the promised land. And he's going to cast out all these nations and allow Israel to occupy that land. Because remember, they were slaves. They had no place or land of their own. And so the Lord is going to take the land of another and give it unto Israel. Verse number 2, go ahead.
And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee,
What are they to do?
thou shalt smite them, and utterly destroy them.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them.
He said, don't make an agreement with them. You've already entered into an agreement with God. He said, so when the Lord delivers them before you, when you come in the land, he said, you smite them, destroy them, and don't enter into any covenants with them, neither show them any mercy. Go ahead.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them.
Uh-huh.
Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son,
Go ahead.
nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
And why is it that the Lord is telling them that they must do this? Go ahead.
For they will turn away thy son from following me,
Uh-huh.
that they may serve other gods.
See, God is not concerned about interracial marriages. What he said is don't be unequally yoked. Don't get involved with someone who does not serve the true and living God. Because what may happen is they may deter you or turn you from following me. He said, don't make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shall thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. And then what?
So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you,
And what is he going to do?
and destroy thee suddenly.
Go ahead.
But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altar,
Uh-huh.
break down their images,
Go ahead.
and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire.
Go ahead.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
Uh-huh.
The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
He entered into a covenant with this people. He said, you're to be a holy people, a kingdom of priests. He said, God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Go ahead.
Verse 7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers.
See, God has to fulfill his obligation that he made unto Abraham, because he told Abraham, walk before me and be thou perfect. And I'll establish my covenant with thee, and thy seed after thee. And I'll give unto thee the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. So God must fulfill the promise that he made unto Abraham. And as I stated, the covenant was passed from Abraham down to Isaac, down to Jacob, and then it was passed on to Israel. A nation was born, and God has promised to give them the land of Canaan, the promised land. He said, and I'm doing this not because you were more in number than anybody. He said you were the least, you were the fewest of all people. He said, but because, or not because, he said, but because the Lord loves you, and because he would keep the oath he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord what?
Hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt.
In other words, don't think you're special. The covenant was contingent upon what? Obey all that I speak. Turn over to Psalms 105. And we're going to see that the Lord fulfilled his promise of providing his bride a place to dwell in. 105. You pick it up at verse number 42. 105 and 42. You go ahead when you get there.
For he remembered his holy promise, and Abraham his servant. And he brought forth his people with joy, and his chosen with gladness.
And what did he do for Israel?
And gave them the lands of the heathen.
Talking about the Amorites and the Hittites, Girgasites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites. 7 nations that were mightier than they. He said he brought his people forth, brought them up out of the land of Egypt, out of slavery, took them into the wilderness, and then gave them possession of the promised land. He said he gave them the land of the heathens, of the nation. He gave land to a people who had no land. And what did they do?
And they inherited the labor of the people.
They took over the cities that already had been inhabited, had been built by others, and they dwelt there. Go ahead.
That they might observe his statutes and keep his laws. Praise ye the Lord.
Turn over to Ezekiel, the 16th chapter, because we're going to find out what else the Lord did for his people. Ezekiel 16. We're going to see what else he provided for this woman who turned out to be unappreciative and unworthy of the love that God has shown her. Ezekiel 16. Because the Lord had Ezekiel to tell Israel of her wrongdoing. 16 and 1. You go ahead when you get there.
Again the word of the Lord came unto me, saying,
Go ahead.
Son of man,
Do what?
cause Jerusalem to know her abominations,
Tell her the error of her ways. Go ahead.
and say, Thus saith the Lord God unto Jerusalem,
Uh-huh.
Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan.
Talk about your birthplace. Go ahead.
Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother in Hittite.
Because these were the ones that were dwelling in the land that the Lord gave unto Israel. He said, the Lord said, Thus said the Lord God unto Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity is the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite, and your mother a Hittite. Go ahead.
And as for thy nativity in the day thou wast born, thy navel was not cut, neither wast thou washed in water to supple thee.
He said, when I found you, he said, your cord was not cut, neither were you cleansed. Go ahead.
Thou wast not salted at all,
As a people, you are of no use, nor what?
nor swaddled at all.
Unappealing. Go ahead.
None I pity thee, to do any of these unto thee,
Go
to
ahead.
have compassion upon thee.
There was no one that was going to help you. Remember, the Lord brought this people out as slaves out of the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
But thou wast cast out in the open field, to the loathing of thy person,
Go ahead.
in the day that thou wast born.
And what did the Lord do?
And when I passed by thee, and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live.
Go ahead.
I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the
He
field.
said, I'm the one that caused you to thrive as a nation. Go ahead.
Thou hast increased and waxen great,
Now you've matured and what?
and thou art come to excellent ornaments.
You're starting to become beautiful as you come into your own. He said, but I'm the one that caused you to thrive. He said, as the bud of the field. And you've increased in the waxing great. And that'll come to excellent ornaments. Go ahead.
Thy breasts are fashioned, and thine hair is grown.
Again, he's likened the nation unto being a woman. He said, your breasts are fashioned, and your hair is grown. Go ahead.
Whereas thou wast naked and bare.
Again, like a woman that is beginning to groom herself. She's starting to come into her own. Verse number 8. Go ahead.
Now when I passed by thee, and looked upon thee,
Go ahead.
behold, thy time was the time of love.
Again, but it was not before there was marriage. But go ahead.
And I spread my skirt over thee,
He said, I put my wings over thee. I protected thee. Go ahead.
and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee,
And did what?
and entered into a covenant with thee,
A marriage with thee. Go ahead.
saith the Lord God. Thou becamest mine.
Again, and what did he tell them the first thing? Have no other gods before me. For I'm a jealous God. Go ahead.
Then washed I thee with water.
And how he did that was he gave the nation his word. He said, I washed you with water. Go ahead.
Yea, I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee.
Go ahead.
And I anointed thee with oil.
Uh-huh.
I clothed thee also with broidered work, and shod thee with badger's skin. And I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silver.
Just like a husband providing for his spouse. Go ahead.
I decked thee also with ornaments, and
Uh-huh.
I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck.
He gave Israel the best and the finest of all. Go ahead.
And I put a jewel on thy forehead,
Uh-huh.
and earrings in thine ears,
Go ahead.
and a beautiful crown upon thine head.
So again, he's just reminding them of all that he had done for them. Go ahead.
Thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen, and silk, and broidered work. Thou didst eat fine flour, and honey, and oil. And thou wast exceeding beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom.
Again, all this came about, not of Israel's own doing, but it was brought about by the Lord. He provided all this for his people, for his bride. Go ahead.
14. And thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty,
And as the fame of the nation went forth, go ahead.
for it was perfect through my comeliness,
The splendor, go ahead.
which I had put upon thee, saith the Lord God.
But what happened to Israel?
But thou didst trust in thine own beauty.
Sometimes it's like a woman. She gets told of how good she looks, and she gets beside herself. It's what they used to say. She got the big head. He said, but you started to trust in your own beauty. Now she's got beside herself and has done what?
And playedst the harlot because of thy renown.
She started listening to the whispers of others. He said, but you didst trust in your own beauty and played the harlot because of thy renown, and pourest out what?
And pouredst out thy fornications on everyone that passed by. His it was.
Talk about spiritual idolatry.
Right.
Go ahead.
And of thy garments thou didst take, and deckedst thy high places with divers colors.
See, the Lord is putting it in a way in which we can understand. It's like you take someone and you're married to them, and you give them your best. You give them all that you have, and then some. And then they turn around and take what you've given them, and they give it to somebody that they messing around with on the side. He said, and of your garments that I gave you took and decked thy high places, these places of false worship with divers colors, and did what?
And playedst the harlot thereupon.
Go ahead.
The like thing shall not come, neither shall it be so.
You paying tribute to another false god. After he told you the first commandment was, have no other gods before me. And what did the people say? All that God has spoken, we will do. But go ahead.
Thou hast also taken thy fair jewels of my gold and of my silver, which I had given thee, and madest to thyself images of men.
Go ahead.
Didst commit whoredom with them.
Again, this spiritual idolatry. All of the fine things and the precious jewels that God had provided for his people, they turned around and made them some false gods. Go ahead.
And tookest thy broidered garments, and coveredst them.
Go ahead.
And thou hast set mine oil and mine incense before them.
Go ahead.
My meat also which I gave thee, fine flour and oil and honey,
Go ahead.
wherewith I fed thee.
What did they do?
Thou hast even set it before them for a sweet savor.
Now just think of it from the terms of a flesh and blood man. How upset you would be. You labor day and night, provide a place for your wife to dwell, has given her all that she could ask for, and then some. And she turns around, and the food that your money then bought, that you done stocked up the refrigerator with, she done prepared a meal for the man that's riding around in your car, upset, totally. He said, my meat, which I gave you, the fine flour and oil and honey, wherewith I fed you, you just set it before these false gods for a sweet savor. Go ahead.
And thus it was, saith the Lord
Drop
God.
down to verse number 25. Go ahead.
Thou hast built thy hind place at every head of the way,
Talking about places of false worship. Go ahead.
and hast made thy beauty to be abhorred,
Uh-huh.
and hast opened thy feet to every one that passed by, and multiplied thy whoredoms.
Drop down to verse number 30. What does he say about this woman that he had entered into this covenant with? Go ahead.
How weak is thine heart,
He said, how degenerate is your thoughts? Go ahead.
saith the Lord God,
Uh-huh.
saying, Thou doest all these things, the
What?
work of an imperious, whorish woman.
He said, now how weak is your mind, said the Lord, seeing that you've done all this. He said, a work of an imperious or a whore. In that what?
And that thou buildest thine eminent place in the head of every way.
That God brought this people up out of slavery, brought them into the wilderness and sustained them, gave them a land of their own. They didn't take it by force or by might. God delivered it. Because he told them of the 7 nations that were greater and mightier than them. Don't enter into no covenant with them. He said, but they got in and got high-minded, got beside themselves, and started building these shrines or these places of false worship. He said, in that thou buildest thine eminent place in the head of every way, and makest thine high place in every street, and has not been as an harlot, and that thou scornest high. Say some women do this and get paid. Israel did it for nothing. But what? How did they do it? Verse 32.
But as a wife that committed adultery,
Again, because Israel is God's bride, she entered into a covenant with the Lord. She was married unto him. He said, you've done all this as a woman that committed adultery, which does what?
which taketh strangers instead of her husband.
Again, the Lord is using the physical to show us the spiritual. And what is the punishment for adultery? Was it not supposed to be death? Drop down to verse number 38. What does he say he's going to do?
And I will judge thee as women that break wedlock,
He said, I'm going to judge you as a woman that has broken her vows. And do what?
and shed blood are judged.
And what is he going to do?
And I will give thee blood and fury and jealousy.
Again, the Lord has entered into a covenant with Israel, gave his church the best of everything, gave her all that she could want. And she turned around and started pursuing other gods. Turn over to Jeremiah, the 11th chapter. Because to show you how degenerate her mind was, not only did she do wrong, the Lord lets you know that she rejoiced in her wrongdoing. She refused to turn from her transgression. And so the Lord is going to have to reject her. Sometimes you can have infidelity in a relationship, and the one will go to the other and say, can we just work it out? And the other person say, hey, you might as well go on and do what you're going to do, because I'm going to keep on doing what I've been doing. That's what Israel did. 11 and 14. 11 and 14. So what did the Lord say about this people? Go ahead.
Therefore pray not thou for this people.
He said, don't ask nothing for this people. Don't ask anything on her behalf. He said, don't pray for this people, neither what?
Neither lift up a cry or prayer for them.
Why is that?
For I will not hear them
Uh-huh.
in the time that they cry unto me for their trouble.
He said, don't waste your breath crying for this people. He said, don't waste your breath calling unto me on their behalf. He said, I'm not going to hear them in the time of trouble when they cry unto me. Go ahead.
What hath my beloved to do in mine house, seeing she hath wrought lewdness with many?
In other words, she got to go. He said, what is my beloved to do in mine house? She's not going to stay in the land that I provided for her and have done all this wrong, committing adultery. He said, what is my beloved to do in mine house, seeing that she has wrought lewdness with many? Go ahead.
And the holy flesh is passed from thee.
Uh-huh.
When thou doest evil,
What does she do?
then thou rejoicest.
took pleasure in her wickedness. Go ahead.
The Lord called thy name,
Uh-huh.
a green olive tree,
Go ahead.
there, and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult, he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken.
Go ahead.
The Lord of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee.
He's promised this. Go ahead.
For the evil of the house of Israel and for the house of Judah,
Uh-huh.
they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense unto Baal.
All this evil's gonna come upon them because of their false worship. Because of their spiritual idolatry. Turn over to Hosea, the 2nd chapter. Because God is a merciful God. And he did not believe in putting away. So he didn't automatically pass sentence on Israel as a result of their infidelity. But he pleaded with this woman if she would turn from the evil of her doings. 2 and 1. 2 and 1. Hosea 2 and 1. You go ahead when you get there.
Plead with your mother, plead,
Uh-huh.
for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts.
Again, he said, you plead with your mother. Talking about Israel, the nation. He said, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. He said, I'm not going to accept this. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight and her adulteries. All these false gods from between her breasts. These what?
Lest I strip her naked,
Go ahead.
and set her as in the day that she was born.
These I take back all that I gave her. All that she has was because of me. He said, at least I strip her naked and set her in the day that she was born and make her what?
And make her as a wilderness,
Uh-huh.
and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. And I will not have mercy upon her children,
Go ahead.
for they be the children of whore.
So the Lord is giving Israel a chance or room to repent. Chance to turn from her transgression. He's willing to forgive his bride for the wrong that she has committed. Turn to Jeremiah, the 3rd chapter. But it's just like when you confront someone for the wrong that they've done, and they won't even acknowledge. And that's what Israel did. 3 and 1. Jeremiah 3 and verse 1. You go ahead when you get there.
They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again?
Again, now Israel is not sure if they can come back to the Lord after what has happened. They say if a man put away his wife and she go from him and become another man, shall he return unto her again? Go ahead. He said, shall not that land be greatly polluted? For what?
But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers.
Go ahead.
And return again to me, saith the Lord.
He said, even though you've done all this, I'll still take you back. Because again, the Lord hated putting away. Marriage is an everlasting covenant. Verse number 2.
Lift up thine eyes unto the high place,
Uh-huh.
and see where thou hast not been lying with.
He said, here's the evidence. Acknowledge what you've done. It's like getting caught in the act and a person is still denying that they've done wrong. He said, just lift up your eyes, look upon all these places of false worship. He said, and see where thou hast not been lewd with. Go ahead.
In the ways hast thou sat for them, as the Arabian in the wilderness, and thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy wickedness.
So they're going to pay a price. Go ahead.
Therefore the showers have been withholden,
Uh-huh.
and there hath been no latter rain.
Go ahead.
And thou hadst a whore's forehead.
He said, therefore, because you've done this, he said, the rain has been withholden, and you have a whore's mindset. In that what?
Thou refusest to be ashamed.
He said you refuse to be ashamed of your wrongdoing. You refuse to accept your transgression. Sometimes you can want a marriage to work, but a marriage takes two. And although God wanted his people to turn to him, Israel refused to acknowledge their transgressions. Turn over to Hosea, the 2nd chapter. Because we're going to see that Israel continued to be unfaithful even though the Lord pleaded with them. Sent prophet after prophet, rising up early, warning the people, telling the people of the error of their ways. And what would they do? They would stone the prophets, even kill some. Even took Jesus himself and killed him. Refused to acknowledge, again, their transgression. But Hosea 2, and pick it up at verse number 5. 2 and 5. Go ahead.
For their mother hath played the harp.
Uh-huh.
She that conceived them hath done shameful.
Go ahead.
For she said,
What?
I will go after my lover.
I'm going to continue. Go ahead.
Give me my bread and my water.
She said, I'm going to continue to go after these false gods. They're the ones that has provided for me. Go ahead.
My wool and my flax. Mine oil and my drink.
Not realizing that this came from the true and living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That is how a people who were no people turned into a nation. It was all because of God's fulfillment to the promise that he had made unto Abraham. He said, her mother has played the harlot, she that conceived them have done shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers that gave me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, my oil and my drink. Therefore what? Verse 6.
Therefore, behold, I will hedge up thy way with thorns, and make a wall.
Go ahead.
And she shall not find her path.
Go ahead.
And she shall follow after her love.
But what?
But she shall not overtake them.
He said you can go seek them, but that's not going to benefit you. Go ahead.
And she shall seek them.
Then what?
But shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband.
He said once you realize that these false gods are no benefit unto you, then you're going to come back to me. You're going to come back to your first husband. Go ahead.
Well, then was it better with me than thou?
Then once she falls on hard times, then she's going to realize the error of her ways. And she's going to seek to get her husband back. Go ahead.
For she did not know that I gave her corn and wine and oil and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal.
Therefore what?
Therefore will I return and take away my corn in the time thereof, my wine in the season thereof, and will recover my wool and my flax given to cover her nakedness.
Go ahead.
And now will I discover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers.
And once I've done all this, what will she have?
And none shall deliver her out of mine hand.
Go ahead.
I will also cause all her murder to cease, her feast days, her new moons, and her Sabbaths, and all her solemn.
See, all that I've given unto her, I'm going to take back. And then she's going to realize the error of her ways. Turn over to Jeremiah, the 3rd chapter. Jeremiah, the 3rd chapter. And pick it up at verse number 8. And we're going to see that the Lord divorced this woman. Jeremiah 3 and 8. Because Israel left him no choice. Go ahead.
And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away.
And what did he do?
And given her a bill of divorce.
He said, I gave her a written bill of divorcement. He divorced his bride. He said, I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet what?
Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not.
Because the nation had been split, but even witnessing all that befell Israel because of his false worship. Judah, instead of acknowledging it, they did the same thing. He said, yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but what?
But went and played the harlot also.
I always say when we come into the knowledge that we're Israel, and that's a good thing to have some understanding. Understand where we come from. Understand your heritage. We are a stiff-necked and a hard-headed people. Even looking upon. That's just like saying you looked at somebody go around the corner and they came back. And I mean, they was messed up. And they told you, don't go around the corner. Because there's somebody around the corner and he's going to hurt you. You see all these knots and hickeys on my head? That's what he's going to do to you. And the person say, I'm going to go around the corner anyway. I have no sympathy for them. Every hick and knot they got, they deserve. Go ahead.
And it came to pass through the likeness of her whoredom
Go ahead.
that she defiled the land,
She was casual with this. Go ahead.
and committed adultery with the stones and with the stocks.
Again, with her false worship. Go ahead.
And yet for all this her treacherous sister Judah hath not turned unto me with her whole heart, but
Well,
valiantly, saith the Lord.
Just in pretense. Just pretending. It's just like sometimes you could turn on what you would deem a religious program and they praising the Lord. And we know how to pray. And they singing songs. And again, but at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's all vanity. It's all vain. Because with all of their acknowledging in the terms of their worship and praise, they won't do nothing God said. I mean, absolutely do nothing. Whatever is written in this book, all of it they've cast aside. The only thing that they keep is just the name. They got the name right. They call on the name. But the doctrine of Jesus, nobody wants to deal with. He said when he gave them the vows, what did he do? Remember to keep my Sabbath holy. And what did the majority of those who call themselves Christians, which is to be a follower of Christ, and it says is Jesus, as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. What do? They observed the Sabbath of Constantine, because he's the one that decreed in 321 AD that Sunday was going to be the official Sabbath of the Christians. So they don't pay attention. They worship God in pretense. Turn over to Isaiah, the 50th chapter. Isaiah 50. And the Lord will punish you, but he's a merciful God, because he will tell you why he's punishing you, so that you can turn from your transgressions and deliver yourself. Again, he reiterates why he put his people away, why he divorced this woman. Go ahead, 50 and 1.
Thus saith the Lord, where is the bill of your mother's divorce, whom I have put away?
Go ahead.
Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you?
He said, where's the bill of your mother's divorcement? He said, whom I put away. Or which of my creditors is it whom I sold you into slave? Go ahead. He's going to tell them as to why this befell them. Go ahead.
Behold, for your iniquities have ye sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away.
He said, look, because of all your wrongdoing, worshiping false gods, that's why these things have come upon thee. Turn over to Micah, the 4th chapter. That no man would tolerate a wife acting in this way. And certainly the Lord is not going to be accepting of his people, who was supposed to be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. And because of their wrongdoing, not only is he going to kick them out of the land that he gave them, the promised land, he's going to send them into slavery all over the world. Micah 4 and verse number 9. 4 and 9. You go ahead when you get there.
Now why dost thou cry out aloud?
Uh-huh.
Is there no king in thee?
He said, is there no king among you? Go ahead.
Is thy counselor perished?
Uh-huh.
For pangs have taken thee as a woman in travail.
He said, you pain like a woman in childbirth. Go ahead, verse number 10.
Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion,
Uh-huh.
like a woman in travail.
Go ahead.
For now shalt thou go forth out of the city.
Uh-huh.
Thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon.
He's letting them know you're going to get out the promised land. You going into slavery. He said, be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion. He said, like a woman in birth pain. He said, but now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. Go ahead.
There shalt thou be delivered.
Uh-huh.
There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemy.
Go ahead.
Now also many nations are gathered against thee that say,
Uh-huh.